and just a tad, so hopefully this won't be a problem. Alright, I'm streaming again. I'll keep my eye on that indicator, but I'm back up on stream again. So for those that can't view the repeater, then you can certainly catch the vision side of tonight's program by YouTube. Just type in VK3CSJ in the YouTube search engine. I can see Robert VK3GOD's there on the chat window. No other emails will come through at this stage. Okay, almost forgot the usual blurb. The Astronomical Society of Victoria, founded in 1922, comprises well over 1,600 members throughout Victoria and Australia and overseas. Membership of the Society is open to all persons with an interest in astronomy. The Society's objectives are to encourage the study and practice of astronomy, to disseminate the knowledge of the science, and to provide greater facilities for the study among its members. Monthly meetings are usually held on the second Wednesday of each month. Meetings start at 8 p.m. at the Mollier Hall, National Herbarium, Burwood Avenue, Melbourne, near the Melbourne Observatory, which is located adjacent to the Shrine of Remembrance. Parking is available in Burwood Avenue, Dallas Brooks Drive, and the surrounding streets. Admission is free and visitors are most welcome. Privileges of membership include the right to borrow books, periodicals and other publications from the Society's extensive library located at the Melbourne Observatory, receipt of the ASV's magazine Crux containing articles, news, observing notes and the like, and the free provision of the Astronomical Yearbook. Access is available to telescopes on members' nights held regularly at the Melbourne Observatory and after the monthly meetings, weather permitting. These instruments include the Society's 300mm equatorial reflector and a 300mm portable reflector. There's also a 200mm refractor managed by the Royal Botanic Gardens, and a photoheliograph are also housed at the observatory and are accessible to members too. The Society also has a number of 200mm reflectors available for short period loan in the telephone loan scheme that ASV has. Members are also encouraged to make use of the Society's country property located near Heathcote, some 90-minute drive north of Melbourne. There are a range of instruments available for members to use, the larger two with appropriate training, that range from 300mm to 1000mm in aperture. Also located on the site is the 8.5 metre radio steerable telescope, which members can access with involvement in the radio astronomy section. There's what's not included in this readout that I read every Friday. There's now 3 domes up at the site which have remote access. So of course you have to be a member of the ASV to gain access to those domes, but it's one thing that's been worked on in the last few months with haste, is to get 3 domes situated with remote controlled telescopes, so you can be at home and you can log in and do some observing. Members are encouraged to make and use telescopes. Advice and help on both matters are provided willingly to newcomers desiring to do the same. Instrument making is only one of the number of common interest activities catered for within the Society. There are about 20 sections or 21 sections that make up the ASV. Other areas of interest that members can participate in include deep sky observing, astrophotography, lunar and planetary observing, auroral, meteor, comet, radio astronomy, computing, cosmology and astrophysics. Historical studies, research and astronomy in general are all covered. Contact details for various section directors are provided in the yearbook. If you don't have access to the yearbook, of course, then go to the ASV's website at www.asv.org.au. Further information may be obtained by visiting the ASV website, as I just mentioned, and notifications of events are given in the Crux Extra Bulletins, which is an email publication. Please note that the ASV will conform to all government health directives. ASV events may be required to be cancelled, moved and postponed. If you wish to send a letter via mail, write to the Secretary of the Astronomical Society of Victoria. When I say write to the Secretary, that's what they say, just type write the secretary on your envelope. The Secretary, Astronomical Society Victoria, GPO Box 1059, Melbourne, Victoria 3001. There it is. And we're still on YouTube, thank goodness. All right. I'm going to just briefly cover the Sky Notes. Again, and this is where I should have read out the blurb first and then segued into this Apollo 8 thing. But yes, so it's next Wednesday, the 10th of April, our monthly meeting, which can be viewed on the ASV's YouTube channel. I'm not sure what's preceding this special meeting, but I'm only going by what I'm seeing on the calendar here. Actually, there's a bit more to that I haven't read out. Okay. So once again, the description of this talk, which apparently kicks off at 9:45 to 11:45, the 2019 documentary called Apollo 11 captivated viewers with its trove of unseen 70mm footage, but there was over 20 hours of amazing material which remained on the cutting floor. In this presentation, the film's archive producer Stephen Slatter will show some of these archive treasures publicly for the first time, and also tell the incredible story of Apollo 8, the first time humanity left Earth orbit and visited another world. Next Wednesday. Now there is a little bit more that I didn't go down. Who knows, I didn't want to sneeze. Live stream commences at 8 p.m. For those attending in person, please arrive no later than 7:45, they're saying here. Join us in person this month's Astro Talk. Entry fee, there's no entry fee, of course. It's if you are unable to attend in person, the event will be streamed live and free. That's what they're saying. And they also provide a YouTube link. So if you go to the ASV's website, www.asv.org.au, and look under the calendar, which you'll find under events at the top there, you'll see the links to the YouTube channel and to the Facebook link as well. And there's also a Twitch link. Not sure what that is, but anyway, there it is. There it is. So if I remember, I will try and watch that next Wednesday. A bit curious as to know why it's so late though, 9:45, because somebody might like to send me an email that's in knowledge of all that. G'day, Steve. And g'day, Wayne. G'day, Wayne. All right. Where was I then? I was going to Sky Notes. Oh, yes. Well, we've got past the 1st of April, I think, fairly safe. I noticed the odd BS things that were coming up on Facebook and various other places. 1st of April, you always get them. Anyway, from sunrise and sunset times. Oh yes, don't forget, we're also changing our clocks this weekend. It's an hour back to standard time. And yeah, so the evenings will get a bit darker, a bit earlier. But hopefully there'll be a little bit more light in the mornings. I really don't like the dark in the morning. I have to start work at 7 o'clock and I can barely see where to put my key in the security door to close it. Monday the 11th of April, sunrise will be at 6:43 a.m. and which tells me there'll be plenty of light. It's by the time I leave for work, or enough anyway. Setting at 5:58. The day length will be 11 hours and 15 minutes. By Friday the 21st of April, sunrise will be at 6:52, setting at 5:44, with the day hours being about 10 hours 52 minutes. And by the end of the month, Sunday the 30th of April, sunrise will be at 7 o'clock, setting at 7:33 p.m, with the day length being 10 hours 33 minutes. So there, moon phases. There'll be a new moon on Tuesday the 9th. There'll be a first quarter on Tuesday the 16th and a full moon on Wednesday the 24th. And on Monday the 8th of April, the moon will be at its closest approach to Earth at 358,850 kilometres. And on Monday the 20th, it'll be furthest from Earth at 405,623 kilometres. Mercury is in front of the Sun this month. It's inferior solar conjunction and not visible, therefore. Venus rises in the east around 5:30 a.m, which I've noticed. Good morning, starshine. Well, that's not a star. Early in the month and a little later each morning, but fades in the dawn light by 6:20. Mars is visible high in the east from 3:40 a.m, a little later each night, before fading in the morning light by around 6 a.m. Jupiter Jupiter is about to move behind the Sun for its superior solar conjunction, but can still be seen high in the northwest from around 4:30 a.m. before fading by 6 a.m. in the pre-dawn light. By late April, it will no longer be visible. This is Jupiter. Saturn can be seen from 4:30 a.m. Early in the month in the east, and then a little earlier each night before it's lost in the dawn light. Meteors. April's main shower is the Lyrids, centered near the bright star Vega, low in the north at 3 a.m. It is active from the 16th to the 20th of April, peaking on the 22nd to the 23rd. Better placed is the Pi Pupids associated with Comet Reg, which appears on 24th, which peaks on the 24th, centered low in the southeast near Canopus in Carina. Okay. If we look towards the south, the Southern Cross can be found on its side in the southeast, with the two pointers below. To the right of the cross in the southwestern sky is the star Canopus, the second brightest star in the night sky. Low in the south is Achernar, the head of the river in Eridanus. Achernar never sets in Melbourne, and it is called a circumpolar star, as it moves through a half circle around the south celestial pole during the night as the Earth rotates on its axis. If we look towards the southwest, in a dark location you can see the large and small clouds of Magellan, who are small neighbouring galaxies to our own Milky Way. They appear as irregular fuzzy patches isolated from the broad band of stars that runs across the sky, which is our edge-on view of our own galaxy. In less light-polluted skies, you can also see the Milky Way, several dark regions that are vast clouds of dust. Whilst we may see a few foreground stars, the dark areas behind obscure our view of the more distant stars of the galaxy. If we turn to the west, Orion is in the west, lying almost on its side, with the red giant star Betelgeuse as one of his shoulders. The three bright stars that form an obvious line are El Nitzak and El Nilam and Mintaka. They mark his belt and also conveniently base of the local saucepan asterism. The handle of the saucepan is Orion's scabbard, which hangs from his belt. Such imagination us humans have. Continuing the belt stars above and a little to the right, we have Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky and principal star in Canis Major, which is one of which is one of Orion's hunting dogs. If we turn to the north, in the north and upside down from our southern hemisphere perspective is Leo the Lion. The constellation is easily recognised by the hook shape, or the inverted backwards question mark of stars that forms the mane on the lion's head and shoulders. To the left of Leo and close together are two bright stars, Castor and Pollux, the principal stars in the constellation of Gemini, the twins, which appears upside down as well from the southern latitudes. And turning to the east, later this month and into May, the spectacular constellation of Scorpius will begin its return to our evening skies. This is one of the largest constellations, and when it appears low in the east, you can easily identify it to the left, its long curving tail leading to its body containing the red giant star Antares making its heart, and to the right is the Pinches reaching out. The International Space Station, Saturday the 6th, so there's only a couple of dates here that they've put. The International Space Station orbits the Earth every 90 minutes, about 400 kilometres above the Earth. And if you're in Melbourne, basically, Saturday the 6th of April, there's a passing at 6:36 a.m. to 6:42 a.m. coming in from the southwest to the northeast. So if you can get up early in the morning, tomorrow morning, and look towards the southwest, about 6:36, you'll see the International Space Station screaming across. Then on the evening of the 14th, Sunday the 14th of April, there's a passing at 6:58 p.m. to 7:03 p.m. coming in from the north-northwest to the east-southeast. All these predictions and times for these satellites, whether it be the International Space Station or anything else for that matter, just visit Heavens Above website. It's just called heavensabove.com, and it provides really interesting information on just about everything that's in the sky and how to look and where to look and what time. Now, there's a few dates here. I think I'll finish reading out these dates. What's the time? 10:25. Let me just check if my YouTube is working still. Yes, it is. Okay. I think I got as far as I can't remember, but I'll go from the 21st of April 1990. The Hubble Space Telescope was launched on the Space Shuttle Discovery. 1990 Space Telescope. The 23rd of April 1992, COBE, C-O-B-E, COBE satellite reveals microwave temperature variations across the universe. On the 27th of April 2002, the final telemetry received from the Pioneer probe Pioneer 10. On the 28th of April 1900 is the birth of Dutch astronomer Jan Oort, whose name is given to a vast cloud of icy objects thought to orbit the Sun well beyond the Kuiper Belt. 28th of April 2001, American Dennis Tito became the first space tourist, paying the Russian space agency some $20 million US to travel on a Soyuz craft to the International Space Station for an 8-day journey. $20 million on an 8-day journey on a Soyuz craft. Well, if you've got the money, I suppose. And finally, on the 30th of April in the year 1006, brightest supernova ever recorded is seen in the constellation of Lupus. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, with the regular Friday night cast missions coming to you from the studio of VK3CSJ in Narre South. No more on the chat window there. Come on, guys, use the Discord channel. Where are you, Zol? G'day, Andrew. Andrew's just checking in there, Mr. KIS. Yep. All right. First article for tonight before we go to Tamitha. How do globular clusters remain intact for so long? If you've ever viewed a globular cluster through a telescope, it really is the most awe-inspiring thing to look through a telescope. There are some amazing globular clusters above our heads, and a reasonably good telescope will bring them into full view in most cases, some of them at least anyway. Anyway, this is I think this is an Ask the Question and Ask Astro from Astronomical, courtesy of. There's a picture here too I can bring up of a globular cluster. Not the best one though I've seen. There are better globular clusters, but this is the picture that they chose. Strange. Oh, there it is. Oh God, Clint. All right, there we are. That's what we're referring to. How do globular clusters remain intact for so long? As stars orbit the common center of mass, shouldn't they cross orbits and collide regularly, destroying the cluster in relatively short order, is the question by Terence Schnell in Columbia, Canada. Globular clusters are ancient, spherical groups of stars that are often as old as the galaxies they orbit. The stars in a globular cluster orbit the center of mass of the cluster, and the angular momentum of the stars as they move in their orbits keeps the cluster from simply collapsing in on itself. This is the same reason the planets of our solar system don't fall into the sun. But what about stars within the cluster colliding? There are a few factors at play here. First, remember that the stars are always moving. To get a star-to-star collision, you would have to have two stars whose orbits cross both meet in the same place at the same time, of course. This is like trying to hit one moving target with a second moving target. It's not impossible, but it is unlikely. And second, although stars in a cluster are closer together than out in the field, i.e. not in a cluster, the average distance between two stars in a globular cluster is still about 1 light year, and that's quite far apart, so most orbits aren't likely to cross. Of course, there are exceptions. Stars are only an average of 1 light year apart, so some are more closer, down to a few light hours apart, the size of our solar system or less. So despite all the reasons I've just given for why collisions are not the overall norm, stars can and do collide, particularly in the centers of the most densely populated globular clusters. Astronomers think such collisions might be how certain stars called blue stragglers are created. These stars are particularly massive and bright, meaning that they should not live long, yet they are found in these ancient clusters. One way such a star could produce it is if two smaller, older stars collide, creating one massive star that suddenly has a lot of new fuel to burn and looks artificially young. Even though most of the stars in a globular cluster are unlikely to collide, stars do often interact with each other and other gravitationally. If two stars pass close enough to each other, they might exchange energy, giving one a boost so it moves faster and perhaps even orbits a little farther out than before, while the other loses energy and orbits a little slower and closer to the center. In this way, globular clusters change dynamically over time. with heavier stars sinking toward the centre and lighter stars moving to the outskirts or perhaps getting kicked out of the cluster altogether. So, how do globular clusters remain intact for so long? Well, it just takes a long time for things to occur, I guess. But like I say, globular clusters through a telescope are quite spectacular to see. I can hear my cat up to no good around here. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3EKH. Okay, here's another one. Ambitious new dark matter hunting experiment delivers first results. If you think about it like a radio, the search for dark matter is like tuning the dial to search for one particular radio station. Our method is like doing a scan of 100,000 radio stations. A new experiment designed to search the cosmos for its most mysterious stuff, dark matter, has delivered its first results. While the broadband reflector experiment for axion detection, or BRED, developed by the University of Chicago and the US Department of Energy's Fermilab, hasn't turned up dark matter particles just yet, the new results place a tighter constraint on the type of characteristics scientists can expect such particles to have. The BRED experiment, again now the BRED, this is what, it's an acronym, so BRED stands for Broadband Reflector Experiment for Axion Detection, i.e. BRED. The BRED experiment itself also served up an exciting new recipe that could be used in the hunt for dark matter, a relatively inexpensive one that doesn't take up a vast amount of space. And there's an image here of this device, which I shall bring up. There it is. YouTube's still hanging in. BRED takes a broadband approach to the search for the hypothetical dark matter particles called axions and associated dark protons across a larger set of possibilities than other experiments, albeit with slightly less precision. If you think about it like a radio, the search for dark matter is like tuning the dial to search for one particular radio station, except there are a million frequencies to check through. The University of Chicago scientist and BRED project co-leader David Miller said in a statement, "Our method is like doing a scan of 100,000 radio stations rather than a few very thoroughly." Dark matter represents a huge problem for scientists because despite the fact that it makes up around 85% of matter in the universe and its influence prevents galaxies from flying apart as they spin, we have little idea what it's made of. That is in part because dark matter is effectively invisible. It doesn't seem to interact with light, neither emitting nor reflecting standard photons. That lack of electromagnetic interaction suggests that dark matter isn't composed of protons, neutrons and electrons that comprise normal matter. Objects like stars, planets, moons, our bodies, and the cat next door. Though through our telescopes can detect dark matter directly, though our telescopes cannot detect dark matter directly, the stuff does affect stars, galaxies, and even light via its interactions with gravity. So astronomers can tell that something is there, they just don't know what it is. Knowing what to look for, exactly where to look, is a different matter. We're very confident that something is there, but there are many, many forms it could take, says Miller. This confusion has sent scientists on the hunt for different particles with strange properties that could comprise dark matter. One such candidate is the axion, a hypothetical particle with an extremely small mass. Should axions exist, they may interact with so-called dark proton just as everyday matter interacts with ordinary photons. This interaction could occasionally prompt the creation of visible photon under certain circumstances. BRED is a coaxial dish antenna, and I actually got a photograph here of this instrument. Here's another one. So BRED is a coaxial dish antenna in the shape of a curved metal tube that can fit on a table. The experiment is designed to catch photons and funnel them into a sensor at one end to search for a subset of possible axions. The full-scale BRED experiment will see the equipment sit within a strong magnetic field, which the team says will increase the chances of conversion of axions to protons. As a proof of principle, the team conducted a BRED experiment minus the magnets needed to generate this field. The proto-BRED experiment ran at the University of Chicago for a month and delivered some interesting data, whetting the team's appetite for a full-scale experiment. The first results showed that BRED was highly sensitive in the range of frequencies that the team had designed it to probe. This is just the first step in a series of exciting experiments we are planning, says BRED co-leader and Fermilab researcher Andrew Shanonshanen. We have many ideas of improving the sensitivity of our axion search, he says. The results is a milestone for our concept, demonstrating for the first time the power of our approach. It is great to do this kind of creative tabletop scale science, where a small team can do everything from building the experiment to data analysis, but still have a great impact on modern particle physics. There are still so many open questions in science, with an enormous space for creative new ideas for tackling these questions, Miller concluded. He says, I think this is a real hallmark example of those kind of creative ideas. In this case, impactful collaborative partnerships between small-scale science at universities and larger-scale science at national laboratories. The team's research is detailed in a paper published later last month in the journal Physical Review Letters. So, science continues on. This is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, with a regular Friday night broadcast. NASA. NASA is creating a moon standard time. This is a bit of a follow-up on a previous article I read out on this. The White House announced Tuesday it is directing NASA to create a unified time standard for the moon and other celestial bodies as governments and private companies increasingly compete in space. With the United States keen to set international norms beyond Earth's orbit, the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy instructed the US Space Agency to formulate a plan by the end of 2026 for a standard it is calling Coordinated Lunar Time. As NASA's private companies and space agencies around the world launch missions to the Moon, Mars and beyond, it is important that we establish celestial time standards for safety and accuracy. The Science and Technology Policy, OSTP, IOSTP, that is in short, Deputy Director for National Security Steve Welby said in a statement. He says, he noted how time passes differently depending on positions in space, offering the example of how time appears to pass more slowly where gravity is stronger, such as near celestial bodies. A consistent definition of time among operators in space is critical to successful space situational awareness, capabilities, navigation and communications, he said. The aim, the White House says, is for a Coordinated Lunar Time, or LTC, to be tied to Coordinated Universal Time, currently the primary time standard used throughout the world to regulate time on Earth. The White House directed NASA to work with the Departments of Commerce, Defense, State, and Transportation to deliver a time standard strategy that will improve navigation and other operations for missions, in particular in CIS lunar space, the region between Earth and the Moon. The new standard will focus on 4 features: traceability to UTC, accuracy sufficient to support precision navigation and science, resilience to loss of contact with Earth, and scalability to environments beyond cislunar space. There were few technical specifics for establishing a lunar time standard laid out in the memorandum, but OSTP suggested it could adopt elements of the existing standard on Earth. Just as terrestrial time is set through an ensemble of atomic clocks on Earth, an ensemble of clocks on the Moon might set lunar time, he said. The United States is planning a return to the Moon in 2026, humanity's first lunar landing since Apollo 17 mission in 1972. All right, at 10:44, got to keep in mind that I want to play Tamitha's article. SpaceX has launched another 23 Starlink satellites from Florida this morning. A Falcon 9 rocket carrying 23 of SpaceX Starlink broadband satellites, according to this article, at least because it was written before it launched, is scheduled to lift off from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station on Florida today during an hour-long window. SpaceX will webcast the launch via its account on X, beginning about 5 minutes before the window opens. So you should be able to, I think heavensabove.com should have references to when that those 23 Starlink satellites will be scooting across the horizon, the sky. And another one, NASA's NEOWISE celebrates 10 years, plans end of mission. The Asteroid and Comet Hunting Infrared Space Telescope has gathered an impressive haul of observations, but is now at the mercy of the Sun, which is accelerating its demise. NASA's NEOWISE has had a busy decade, and there's a picture of it here. Where is it? There it is. Kind of an image. NASA's NEOWISE has had a busy decade. Since its reactivated mission began December 13, 2013, the Space Telescope has discovered a once-in-a-lifetime comet, observed more than 3,000 near-Earth objects, bolstered international planetary defense strategies, and supported another NASA mission's rendezvous with a distant asteroid. And that's just a partial list of their accomplishments. But all good things must come to an end. Solar activity is causing NEOWISE, short for Near Earth Orbit Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer, to fall out of orbit. By early 2025, the spacecraft is expected to drop low enough into Earth's atmosphere that it will become unstable or unusable, and eventually will re-enter our atmosphere, early entry burning up. About every 11 years, the Sun experiences a cycle of increased activity that peaks during a period called solar maxima. Explosive events such as solar flares and coronal mass ejections become more frequent and heat up our planet's atmosphere, causing it to expand. Atmospheric gases increase drag on satellites orbiting Earth, slowing them down. With the Sun currently approaching its near maximum, NEOWISE will no longer be able to maintain its orbit above our atmosphere. So there it is. NEOWISE. All right. Let me see. A quick plug for astrophys.com. So if you want to listen to some really fantastic podcasts by Brendan O'Brien, just go to his Astrophys podcast site at astrophys.com, and there are 189 interesting episodes to listen to. And Mount Burnett Observatory has a public night tomorrow night. It's the let me bring it up because I can't see it on that screen. Yes, Mount Burnett Observatory, making the wonders of the astronomy accessible for all. They have another public night at the observatory, 6th of April, which is tomorrow, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock tomorrow night. There appears to be an entry fee, but just go to the website, mbo.org.au for more information. MBO, Mount Burnett Observatory, mbo.org.au for more information. That's up in the hills. It's a nice little observatory. What next? I think we now can go to Tamitha. So just let me queue up her video, and I think it goes for 11 minutes, so we might run a little bit over time, ladies and gentlemen, but here is our Space Weather Woman. Please stand by. The levels might be a little bit loud at first, but we'll correct it as we go. This is VK3EKH.
We have some fast solar wind, a big flare player fires a parting shot, and a total solar eclipse of the sun. Those stories and more in the news this week. Ever dream of a career at the forefront of space and technology? Join us for the course Operational Space Weather Fundamentals in the historic heart of L'Aquila, Italy. This unique week-long program delivers cutting-edge space science with real-world applications for our modern age. Get hands-on laboratory training and make predictions alongside world-renowned experts. Network with future leaders while you gain state-of-the-art expertise that sets you apart and ready to address the needs of the rapidly emerging space sector. Midweek, take an adventurous tour to several medieval villages on the outskirts of L'Aquila. Refresh yourself with breathtaking landscapes and architectural wonders. Feel inspired for the future as you explore this region's rich past. Discover the impact of space weather on our world and become the pioneers of tomorrow. Sign up for Operational Space Weather Fundamentals today. Your journey begins now. This forecast also sponsored in part by CW Ops. Space weather this week is calming down comparatively to last week. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, the big flare players are exiting stage right as they rotate to the sun's far side, and that's leaving most of the disk completely clear. We've been following a few big solar storm launches like this one here that launched from the east limb, and also some filaments that look like they might have been erupting, but nope, they managed to rotate right through the Earth strike zone with nothing. But back to region 3615, look at that big plume right there. That was a near M-class flare, or near X-class flare, an M9.4 flare back on the 31st. It was a beautiful eruption, but did not give us that big of a solar storm, and what little it did give us is not Earth-directed, but it did give us a near R3 level radio blackout, and amateur radio operators and emergency responders were definitely dealing with that. That was the parting shot that this region had before it completely left the west limb and rotated to the sun's far side. So we're going to be keeping our eyes on that one. Meanwhile, we've had a couple new emergences with active regions, but they're reasonably quiet thus far. And we do have this big coronal hole that we're paying attention to. This coronal hole is going to give us some fast solar wind here in about 2 to 3 days. and that means a possibility for aurora right around the 4th or so. Sadly, it's not going to be timed with the total eclipse on the 8th, but aurora photographers, if you're at high latitudes, you're definitely going to get a show, and even at mid-latitudes, you might get a chance for some aurora, so that's something to look forward to. Now, as we take a look at our far-sighted sun, we can no longer use stereo A imagery to get a glimpse of what the far side looks like, because stereo A is staring at the same side of the sun that we are. So we have to use HIA or AIA and HMI imagery of about 2 weeks ago to get an idea of what's lurking on the sun's far side. And so as we set this in motion, I want you to pay attention not to region 3599. That one is actually kind of fizzled a little bit, but really region 3612. This is a region that only emerged on the sun's west limb right before it rotated out of view. You can see it right there. That region has actually been growing on the sun's far side quite substantially. Now, as we pull up our JSOC HMI helioseismology far-sighted viewer, you can see region 3612 here growing on the west limb of the sun over this last rotation. Everything in the gold is on the far side of the sun. So you'll watch region 3612. This region is definitely growing right now on the sun's far side. And there's another region, we called it the new region. You can see part of it right here as well. These are two regions that we're interested in. Also, region 3621, which was a new region in between these big players here. This region was growing on the Earth side of the sun. You can see it there as it disappeared to the sun's west limb. This one is also one we're going to be watching. So we do have a few regions that are going to be entering into Earth view. Region 3612 is going to be the first one, along with its companion, and then region 3607, which was also a big flare player. You can see it here with region 3613. So these regions are definitely going to be the ones to watch here over the next 3 to 5 days. And then, of course, region 3614 and 15, they're just beginning to make their way across the sun's far side, and we're going to be keeping a very close eye on them. Are you ready for the total solar eclipse on April 8th? If you are anywhere in the northwestern hemisphere, look up and be amazed. This great eclipse will grace the skies over nearly the entire North American continent through the course of a full day on April 8th. An eclipse occurs when the moon crosses directly between the Earth and the sun, casting a shadow on the Earth below. Although eclipses happen often, they don't often occur over land, so it is a treat when we get to witness these spectacular celestial events. This great eclipse will begin over the coast of Mazatlan at approximately 11:07 a.m. Mountain Standard Time and proceed on a northeastward path through Mexico until it reaches the USA-Mexican border at Coahuila at 12:27 p.m. Central Daylight Time. It will then pass by San Antonio and Dallas, Texas, on its way northward through Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Tennessee, and Kentucky. By 3:00 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the moon shadow will be crossing over Indianapolis, Indiana, on its way to the Great Lakes. From there, it will cross through Ohio, Ontario, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine before completely crossing out of the USA, entering into New Brunswick, Canada at 3:32 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. From there, the eclipse will cross through Quebec, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and Labrador before ending the spectacular journey over the Atlantic at sunset. Test your skills of observation through citizen science opportunities at NASA. Activities include studying the changes in the sun's corona and comparing it to physics-based predictions like those found at Predictive Science, you can see right here, or for amateur radio operators, join the Festival of Eclipse QSO party at hamsci.org. But always remember to be safe while viewing the eclipse. Never look at it directly with your unprotected eyes or directly through binoculars, even if you're wearing the proper safety glasses, because these weren't designed for that. For more information on how to safely view this spectacular event, be sure to check out NASA's 2024 Total Solar Eclipse Safety Sheet. Happy viewing. Switching to our moon, we are now passing through the third quarter phase on our way to a new moon, with the new moon being, of course, on the 8th, right before the total solar eclipse. So you night sky watchers, if you want to catch some aurora, like, I don't know, maybe some aurora from the fast solar wind, well, now is your perfect chance. Switching to our solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, We are anticipating the fast solar wind from that coronal hole that's rotating in through the Earth strike zone. At high latitudes, NOAA is expecting active to minor storm conditions with up to about a 30 or 35% chance of a major storm, and that will likely be right around the 4th. So aurora photographers, if you're at high latitudes, you definitely could get a chance to chase. And then things will definitely be calming down right around the 5th into the 6th and completely quiet by the time we get to the total solar eclipse. Now at mid latitudes, well, we're not expecting quite as much. We have a wind watch on the 3rd, expecting probably active conditions on the 4th with about a 20 to 25% chance of a minor storm. And then that will settle down as we move into the 5th. And again, by the 6th, we'll be completely quiet. Down with only about a 10% chance of active conditions. So perfect for the eclipse. Everything should be nice and calm. Now, switching to our solar flare and dayside radio blackout outlook over the coming week, we are sitting at about the 130s right now for solar flux. And this is a calm down quite a bit from last week. That's because big regions 36, 14, and 15 have rotated to the sun's far side. We are sitting at minor noise on the radio bands, the dayside radio bands. So amateur radio operators and emergency responders, you should probably hear a lot less noise on the bands this week. We've only got about a 10 to 20% chance of M-class flares at the R1 to R2 level radio blackout this week, and this is likely going to continue throughout the rest of this week. We might start seeing it rise just a little bit as we roll into the weekend, but prior to that, it should stay reasonably quiet, and we don't really have much of a chance for R3 radio blackouts at the X-class flare. That's probably not going to be a big issue for us. So radio operators, enjoy this little respite. Probably next week we will start getting a bit more noise on the bands, and we might get those big flare players back. Now, switching to our radiation storm and polar aviation outlook over the coming week, well, everything is in the green this week. We are in the D1 normal range, and this is for you aviators at flight level 360. It's also the S0 quiet range for everyone else, and we have a very low risk for radiation storms here over the rest of this week and likely into next week. We're probably going to stay pretty low until maybe the latter part of next week. We might see a little bit of a rise. So all you frequent flyers, and this does include air crew and you high-risk passengers, you're all in the clear this week. So the space weather this week is calming down considerably compared to last week. Now we do have a coronal hole that's going to be rotating in through the Earth strike zone here over the next few days, and that's going to send us some fast solar wind. So aurora photographers, if you're at high latitudes, you definitely will get a show. Aurora photographers at mid latitudes, well, probably are going to get a little bit of aurora, so it might be worth a look if you have clear skies. Now amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, you know, right now things are looking a lot better. Those big flare players have now rotated to the sun's far side, and although the solar flux has dropped a little bit, so has the noise on the dayside radio bands. So this is perfect when it comes to that total solar eclipse. If you happen to be working with HamSci or planning to do a little bit of a QSO party during that period, you might actually get to feel a bit more about what the eclipse does to the radio bands without having to worry about a solar storm or big solar flares mucking up all your data. So that is really good news. And now you GPS users, well, you know, everything is looking pretty good. We have a little bit of fast solar wind, so that might give you some trouble on the night side right around the 4th and the 5th. So if you're anywhere near aurora, be sure to stay vigilant. But you know, on Earth's day side and near dawn and dusk, things should look pretty good. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.
And that, here we are. All right, back to this. Just a couple of things I need to switch at the same time. Thank you, Tamitha. This is VK3 EKH, official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, with a regular Friday night broadcast. So some very interesting events happening there in relation to our solar, our sun. Well, I'll just go straight to what spaceweather.com wants to talk about. Where is it? Oh, by the way, we've just had an earthquake, not here in Australia, but there's a fairly decent earthquake has just occurred about half an hour ago at 10 past the hour, 3 minutes past the hour, 10 o'clock, and 6.8, magnitude 6.8. And it's in the area to the east of the Philippines, probably about 500 odd kilometres to the east of Manila, out there at some trench. But yes, I just caught it because my seismograph has detected it. It's a really good. I tried to get the photograph across so I could run it over the TV system here, but I don't know. It's just sometimes it's just impossible to get things to work on a hurry in this place. But I did take a picture of it on the mobile phone, and let me see if I can rotate it. There we are. So there it is. For those watching YouTube and ATV. Right there at the bottom of the there we are. So that's what we for those watching YouTube, that's what we detected on the seismograph here in the shack. That's magnitude 6.8 on the Richter scale, and that's about half an hour ago. So it's a good detection. I think that's pretty amazing to see that. I have that seismograph running all the time. It sits right next to me on the dinner table. So I always try to catch these vents as I'm watching it, but I missed that one by half an hour, but there it is. Anyway, all right, what's happening with spaceweather.com despite what Tamitha has just told us? At the moment, the sun, let me just check where my levels here, because I don't want to be over distorting the level for YouTube. I might just lift that up a little bit. 1, 2, that's all right. So the current disk of the sun looks like this at the moment. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 sunspots on the disk of the sun at this point. It's not all that active. The report goes something like this. The solar wind is currently at 416.1 kilometers per second at a density of 7.28 protons per cubic centimeter. The current sunspot number is 47, with the radio sun measured at a wavelength of 10.7 centimeters. The flux is 114 solar flux units. 114 solar flux units. The KP index currently is 3, which is quiet, and the 24-hour max is looking at 3.67, which is also considered quiet. And there's a little chart that I've got showing that. So that's the KP K index over the last few days, and the K index, excuse me, the K index, and by extension the planetary K index, are used to characterize the magnitude of geomagnetic storms. KP is an excellent indicator of disturbances in the Earth's magnetic field and is used by the SWPC, Space Weather Prediction Center, to decide whether geomagnetic alerts and warnings need to be issued for users who are affected by these disturbances. So that's what that is. And the current solar cycle is this at the moment. So you can see, for those watching the video and TV repeater, you can see the sunspot cycle together with the radio flux, how it mirrors each other perfectly, or pretty close anyway. But we're still far from the peak of cycle 25. We're still probably a good 8 to 10 months, 12 months away. All right, next thing to show you here on the spaceweather.com is the current auroral activity over the South Pole. I do have that here somewhere. I did bring it across, didn't I? Maybe I didn't. Let's just go back to the image here and collect that, because I know I did save it. Okay, there it is, and bringing it up on the visions. So there it is. That's the current auroral australis as such over Antarctica. There's a fairly decent ring out towards the mainland to New Zealand. So if you're in the southern part of Tasmania and New Zealand, I would say that you would be seeing a few minor auroral glows on the horizon, I would say, looking at that. Okay, and the other thing here is, what are they saying? Oh yes, but basically it's the sun is quiet. They're saying here suddenly quiet, sudden quiet. Solar activity has dropped to low levels, and the sun turns to nearly spotless hemisphere toward Earth. Since the giant sunspot AR 3615 departed last week, the sun's baseline X-ray output has decreased by about a factor of 10. No solar storms are predicted between now and April 8th solar eclipse. And of course, as Tim has said, there's a solar eclipse happening across the America, so they're all ramping up for the solar eclipse. Bless their hearts. Here's a quick graphic of the path of the solar eclipse across the states. So it's going to excite a lot of people, especially the flat earthers. All right, now the next thing here is there's a really lovely image of a aurora here too that was captured for those watching TV. A solar wind stream brushed Earth's magnetic field on April 4. It did not cause a global geomagnetic storm. The planetary K index peaked at 4. But nevertheless, the Arctic light show was sublime. So there it is. There's a beautiful picture there of what would be fantastic to see over Melbourne one day, wouldn't it? And finally, as of the 5th of April 2024, there were 2,349 potentially hazardous asteroids that we have to worry about, but not right now. Okay, on that note, we shall conclude tonight's session. Thank you very much, Lee, for listening to my dulcet tones. And I hope you found some of the articles tonight of some value and some interest, one or at least. So I shall now go across to our prime frequency, 3541 kilohertz, and see if we have any stations wishing to check in for tonight. This is VK3EKH listening on 3541.
VK3GL. VK3JR. Delta X-ray. VK3GOD.
Okay, VK3GL, VK3JR, VK3DX, VK3GOD. There was a double there.
SDX. VK3 Hotel Kilo. VK3 Bravo Sierra Foxtrot.
Oh, everybody's such a beautiful signal tonight. Okay. Anybody else? All right. Up to the top of the list, Graham, VK3 Golf Lima in Bunyip. Have a say, mate.
Yeah, thanks very much there, Clint. Good evening. VK3 VKH in the group, VK3GL. And a very pleasant good evening to everyone else who's checked in this evening. All signals sound quite fine. I've actually sent you a little bit of a report on Messenger too, Clint, with a bit of a video of your signal here as received this evening. Good, it was absolutely fantastic. Like at times you were peaking a bit over 40 over 9, so 80 metres is in, I would say, very, very good shape this evening. So there we go. Thanks very much for the broadcast. All good information and well noted. Interesting, the space weather information that was shared this evening, which was also good, and also noted about your reporting of the earthquake. I wonder whether or not you actually detected that earthquake that was over in Taiwan a couple of days ago, 3 or 4 days ago. I saw a report on the news on that of some rocks that were falling down from a cliff face or from a hillside, and it almost looked like something that you would see in a more or less a bit of a Hollywood movie. It almost looked falsely animated, but it wasn't. It was some rocks that were falling down a hill, and one of them hit the back of a car. And those people would have been counting their lucky stars that night for sure, because the size of that rock that came down, had it have dropped onto the car, would have certainly paid any occupants in there, that's for sure. So yeah, some interesting footage coming from that earthquake. The buildings that were partially toppled over and that sort of thing as well. It just goes to show you what the power of what our Earth is, and I'm still amazed that you get those pictures at your place on that seismograph from it sitting on the kitchen table. That's quite remarkable there, Clint, that's for sure. Anyway, thanks for the broadcast. Again, as I said, some interesting articles, particularly the more of those Starlink satellites going up. There's launching, I don't know how many of those things will be up there now, but the sky must be absolutely littered with them. I'm watching your YouTube on delay, and if the picture that you're showing me on your mobile phone is the picture of the earthquake in Taiwan, that's quite remarkable too. All right, thanks very much there, Clint, for the broadcast, and I may have a few words with you afterwards if time permits. VK3EKH, VK3GL in Bunyip.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. VK3GL, VK3EKH. Yes, it is. That was the first one. We actually also detected the one. There was one in Japan a few hours earlier. Not as big a magnitude, but still detected here. So, but that was yes, that was a beauty. And of course, right now is this really magnificent response. If I had things all connected here, I'd be able to patch that through over the TV system without a problem, but it's not. I don't have that connectability right at this very stage. Anyway, thanks, Gray. Thanks for the report, and I'll check that other report that you've sent me to have a look at. No worries at all. Frank, VK3JR, VK3EKH.
EKH, VK3JR, good evening, Clint. And everyone, thank you for doing it. Most interesting as usual. Space weather is certainly very variable. Things have dropped dramatically. The sunspot number and the A index are far down from last week. It doesn't seem to have affected the band very much. I heard US East Coast amateurs tonight coming in over the South Pole with appropriate auroral flutter quite strongly, and so things haven't yet affected. They're predicting G1 level storms, interestingly. Enjoyed Tamatha, as always. Even if she's a bit after the event, it's still good to hear. No missions tonight. That's it, Steve. Clint, thank you for doing it, and we'll talk soon. VK3EKH, VK3JR.
Good on you, Frank. VK3JR, VK3EKH. Good copy. Peaking 25 over there, so excellent stuff. Yeah, it's it's always a devil of a job trying to get Timothy to coordinate with my broadcast. I think I've told her once about that, but that was early in the piece, and she didn't really know who I was. But not that she's going to do her little 11-minute programs on the whim of my requirement for her. But yeah, if her scheduling or predictions or whatever crosses our Friday, even if it's just a day, in this case it's a day. I think it covers up to Saturday. Then it's probably worth putting up. And of course, it covers a little bit of historic aspect of what's been going on too, which I think any shortwave listener out there or active HF amateur would probably think, oh well, that's right, that's why Tuesday was really good, for example. Anyway, there it is. Thanks, Frank, and okay on the 160 meters. Greg, VK3 Delta X-ray, VK3 EKH. Good evening, sir. Well, it's interesting. There's a bit of crackle on it. I'm hearing you okay, but there's a little bit of crackle on it, like you've got a VHF radio operating in the background with the mute just partially on threshold.
Roger. Okay. I had a bit of trouble here last Friday night. I come up on a different radio, we're messing around at the back of the bench here, and I think I've started to upset something. I can't find out when it is. But anyway, a good broadcast, Clint. I won't try looking for it next now. I'm sort of in the dark. But it was interesting tonight. I was trying to think back to the last big earthquake, and the one that came to mind was Newcastle, whatever you want to call it up there. I was trying to think of any others, the major ones that maybe did as much damage as what that one I could, but there may have been that I may have missed. It's interesting on your comments and what you're receiving from that one there tonight. Basically as it was happening. All good. Yeah, okay, good to hear Tamits are on. Always good to hear her, and had an interesting week this week. The power company here, there was an outage on for work in the, well, I thought it was just in the local area, but it turned out they were just along here, did a check on the connection on the pole, and then they checked the connection on the house, and they proceeded to go to the meter board. Well, here we go, we're going to end up with a smart meter here, but no, we weren't charging the meter. Well, I took a sign up many years ago when they were issuing smart meters. I didn't want it. Anyway, that's a longer story. I'll go into it some other time when I'm talking to you. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. But what I was having trouble with 6 meters. There's a hell of a noise coming up, and it was like electrical noise, but it appeared to be on the HF lower frequency bands, but it was certainly noticeable on the 6-meter receiver at Mount Williams, which I am monitoring all the time. Anyway, since whatever they did, and I don't know what they did, they came up the pole or one of the lines and said that we are having any interference on the radio, and I said, no, you should mention I had been, and anyway, they said, well, that might be better, because it's got a connection, I'm not sure what it sounds on the house pole, I suspect it was one of these in the 2 places, but whatever he did, my noise level has dropped from about a 7, somewhere in the region of 5, so on HF, and I haven't heard that same noise come up on the 6-meter receiver, so maybe they did fix something, but I didn't order it. They just come out here out of the blue. They checked the next door house on the house the other side. There on Wednesday. Anyway, it was all good news. I'm happy with the situation. I didn't contact them, but some reason someone made it. I don't know. Okay, Clint, thanks for running the most great job as per usual. VK3
Yeah, okay, Greg. VK3 Delta X-ray, VK3 EKH. Yeah, look, solar activity covers a broad spectrum, and there has been a lot of solar activity that's certainly covered 50 megs, and right up above 100 megs as well. So I've been seeing there's a citizen science project called eCallisto, and the eCallisto is a series of receivers, specifically designed receivers that monitor a fairly broad spectrum, and it converts the received information or signal from the sun in the form of bright intensity regions on a spectrograph. And there's been a lot of that activity over the last few weeks, so it is possible that you might have heard some solar activity happening. 50 megs is right up there where a lot of that low VHF activity from the sun is very, very predominant. Your signal, this noise on your signal was quite loud at times. So, Greg, I was thinking that it might be a capacitor. There might be a noisy capacitor, i.e. a capacitor breaking down. A little bit of investigation into that one. But certainly there seems to be some issue with the audio there, and at some point the crackling was quite loud. So you might have some capacitor that's playing up on you. Anyway, all right, thanks, Greg. Excellent stuff. Robert, VK3GOD, VK3EKH.
VK3 EKH, VK3GOD. Great broadcast tonight, Clint. Thank you. The space weather is very interesting and helps explain what's happening on the band. Would help us at Sky Site a couple of days ago. People should be aware that the gate is sticking when closing. You need to enter the pin on the keypad twice to get it to close again after you make sure that it's closed. I'll be going up there again tomorrow night with a permitting, and I've been doing some good astrophotography with my C-Star. Amazing little telescope, quite amazing. Hope everyone is well and stays well for the next week. I'll be back next week, and I wonder if you could give me a signal report. VK3EKH, VK3GOD.
Okay, VK3GOD, VK3EKH. You're about 10 over 9, hovering around 10 to 15 over 9. A little bit of QSB. But yes, I'm certainly hearing you okay. But generally hovering around 10 over 9 on the Pro 3 meter. Okay, on the dark sky side, I haven't been up there for such a long time. So I should go up there just for the hell of paying a visit, I suppose. But the thing is, though, it's a 2.5 hour drive from here, and these days just driving on the road is I'm over it. I really am. I'm just over it. I can't wait to retire so I don't have to worry about morning traffic anymore. But once upon a time, I didn't mind getting into a car and going for a long drive, and particularly with Heathcote, that 2.5 hour journey was. It didn't really bother me so much, but I just can't seem to fathom it at this stage. Anyway, that's another story. But look, yeah, good signal, Robert, and thanks for the report. And it is good to when I get Timothy's report to play over. she's an amateur herself. She's a radio amateur. As well, and that's why she makes references to the amateur radio spectrum from time to time. Thanks, Robert. Steve, VK3SBX, VK3EKH.
VK3EKH, this is VK3SPX. G'day, Clint. Yeah, good broadcast.
today. I was kind of intrigued by the whole lunar standard time thing. That's going to be interesting, isn't it? We're going to need more than just moon standard time, aren't we? We're going to need time that works on Mars and goodness knows where else at some point in time. So it's going to require a whole new mindset. I wonder how they map to star dates. I'll have to see how that works out as well. More SpaceX satellites, just terrific. Yeah, great. Oh, I noticed Betelgeuse exploded too, according to the ASB. So, gee, I missed that. That would have been good, but maybe
That was a joke.
I'll wait around for the next supernova. Yes, anyway, it was good for your earthquake detector, wasn't it? Clint, that's pretty impressive. I dare say you don't actually have the detector on your kitchen table, or you'd think you'd be getting quite a few more tremors than just those remote earthquakes. And just noticed your shack is changed a bit there, Clint. Look, I got in late here, so maybe if you already told people what you've got behind you, don't bother. But you get a minute, that rack behind you looks pretty interesting. I just wonder if you can tell us what the gadgets are there from top to bottom. All right, thanks, Clint. We'll see you next week, VK3EKH, VK3SPX.
Yeah, no worries, Steve. VK3SPX, VK3EKH. I think you'll find that Betelgeuse explosion was just a joke, a 1st of April thing. So yes, don't get too carried away with that one. If Betelgeuse had actually exploded, I think it would be in the 6 o'clock news. So, but no, it was just a play on being the 1st of the month. I'm fairly certain. I may be wrong, but I doubt it, because even when I collected the news articles tonight, there were certainly no references there to Betelgeuse going supernova. Otherwise, it would have been big news. Oh, the receivers. Yes, that's my receiver rack. I've been slowly putting. This is all the stuff that's been under the bench here for the last few weeks. It's all that's been bumping against my knees under the bench here. So I finally managed to get it into the rack. And the bottom receiver is a VLF receiver. Then you've got the AR7, a very, very rare black edition of the AR7. Then there's the Eddystone 1830, I think its number is, Eddystone. And just above that is another Eddystone receiver. Both receivers, of course. All receivers. And this one just above here is a ship's marine receiver, which isn't working at the moment, but I think that it's a very easy thing to fix. But I've got no information on this. I cannot find a brass razoo on this Japanese receiver, Japanese design and built receiver. I just cannot find any info, nothing at all. I type the model number and whatever not in the search engine, and bugger all comes up on it. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to getting that one running too. So that's my receiver rack. The seismograph sits on the floor here. It's a little Eddystone box. It's a geophone. It's a tiny little geophone, about the size of a 20-cent coin, diameter of a 20-cent coin, and about so high. And it's got a resonant frequency, I think, around about 4 hertz. And of course there's a little circuit board inside there that it's attached to, and converts the information to RS-232, so it goes straight into the COM port on the computer. And then I run a program called AMISYS, Amateur Seismograph AMISYS, which charts, and it's just merrily charting away there. If the cats go too close to it, that upsets it. If I come up on the 2-meter handheld, that upsets it too. But when I get the observatory finally sorted out, Steve, with the dome and everything, once that's established, I'll put the seismograph down there in the ground, so it's away from the barn, away from everything that's going on here, and of course it'll be directly interfaced to the ground, so to speak. So hopefully there it'll pick up some more interesting signals rather than sitting on a concrete slab. Thanks, Steve. Peter. Oh, hang on. There's another Steve. VK3HK. If you haven't fallen asleep. VK3HK, VK3CSJ. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, fine business, Clinty. Yes, thanks very much for the broadcast. Very interesting as always. Missed quite a bit of it. Had Jess over here for the evening meal, but copied the latter portions of it. Your signal here is peaking up to about 25/9. 25/9. Just saw your cat too, waltzing around in the racks behind us. Okie dokie, enough from me. Back to you. VK3EKH, VK3HK.
I was trying to call her. Her name's Kiska. Kiska, where are you? Kiss. No, she wants to be a cat. Anyway, Kiss, come here, come on. Kiss, 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 kiss. Kiska, come here, come on. Kiska. Now it's going to be the trickiest trying to pick her up. No, she doesn't want to be picked up. It's a cat. Kiska, Kiska. No, collapsed on the floor instead. Yeah, she's my long hair. She's about 6 years old and weighs 6 kilograms. All solid. She's not fat. She's a solid puss. And yeah, delightful little cat. But she doesn't like the two blacks that I've got, the two little black kittens which reside in the kitchen. Thanks for the signal report. You're just about the same, hovering about 20 over. So good signal from you, nonetheless. Okay, on dinner tonight, and catching up with the program a little bit late, but that's all right. It's no problem. I'm very disappointed with Essendon. They got thrashed. Anyway, doesn't matter. Yeah, thanks, Steve. We'll probably hear on 160 tomorrow morning if I'm about. Peter, our local resident, VK3BSF, VK3EKH.
Thanks, Clint. VK3BSF returning. Good broadcast about the eclipse. And Tabitha, she really gave a good demo there of the path of the eclipse across the continental United States. I was in Moonee Valley Racecourse the last time Melbourne had an eclipse, which was in 76, I think. Sometime in October 76, total eclipse. Something to behold it was. At the racecourse too. Yes, April Fool's Day joke. Gee, I fell for it. I got a quick note on my phone that Richmond had fielded 19 men in the last quarter, and subsequently they lost the 4 points. And I said that to everyone. Until my grandson said to me, I think that's a April Fool's Day joke, Pop. It was. I fell for that. Yes, the old AR7 behind you. I think I did my fault finding at RAF Ballarat in 1959. I think it was on AR8. So still got the plug-in coils. I think they used the same plug-in coils. They look the same, but of course the AR8 was a bit more modern than that one. Brings back memories. Okay, so Siska, hi, the second operator. She's in Essendon. Well, that was bad luck, mate. You really got thumped. They were looking ahead to be something this year, but they got thumped, as did whoever played tonight got thumped. Can't think of it. I was watching the footy and I said, that's game's over.
Yeah.
Port Adelaide versus some non-entity. Anyway, Richmond's playing on Sunday. The family's coming over to watch it on my big screen. So it'll be something. Thanks, Clint, again. VK3 EKH, VK3 Bravo Sugar Fox.
Yeah, no worries, Peter. VK3BSF, VK3EKH returning, VK3CSJ on the microphone. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I've barracked for Essendon ever since I was a kid. I haven't changed from any team. That's it. So The last two games they've played were pretty good. I've really enjoyed watching all the footy that's happened so far. I'm not much of a football fan, to be honest. I'm not really into it to be in a big way. But I just thought this year, no, I'll watch the odd game during dinner time, and it's been good because I like it when they're neck and neck all the way through. When they're a goal back and forth. And, even if it's teams that I don't particularly worried about, I think, oh, yeah. I generally, I'm a swinging voter when it comes to the footy. So, but, yeah, Essendon's won the last two, I think, which was pretty good. But today, oh, my God, 44 to 111. That's just, what happened to them? The first round was okay. They were neck and neck there. And by the second round, I was getting ready to overhear, so I took my eyes off the camera, off the TV, and that's where it all fell apart. Yeah, so that's a very rare AR7. That came all the way from Western Australia. Many years ago, somebody was selling that. I think it was on VK Ham, and I snaffled that. So it works perfectly well. And I generally use it in conjunction with the Telefunken transmitter here. Not at the moment though, but yeah, I'm working on it. So I've just put this back in the rack. But before putting it back in the rack, I've been wanting to bring out the standby feature because the volume control has a switch in it. So if you put the receiver in standby, of course you turn the volume down to go into standby. So I've brought that standby feature out to a terminal on the back of the unit, and I'll be using a switch to put it into standby without affecting the volume. So I hope to be able to use that with a special switch to transmit receive between that unit there and the receiver. Or I might end up using the FRG7, which you can see just here. The FRG7 works quite well in proximity to this transmitter. So, yeah. All right, enough of that. And yes, I've got Kiska on the view right now. She's just on the sleeping amongst the coaxial cable. It's her favourite little spot that she's got. Is there any other stations wishing to check in before we disappear? VK3 EKH. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tonight. It's been fantastic. Thank you to VK3 Bill, VK3 KHT, Steve, VK3 SBX, Kim, VK5 FUSE has joined there on the chat room, and Steve again. So thanks for coming up on the chat window, Discord. And to the emails from Andrew and Steve and Wayne, no worries at all. Excellent stuff. So we will be back next Friday to do it again with some more news. Every week there is something new to mention, and it always amazes me how I can fill up an hour without a problem. But again, if there's a new video that comes out from Tamitha, I will certainly show that. And if there's any supernovas, I'll certainly be talking about that too. Yeah, so I had other things to talk about tonight too. There's a couple of interesting things which I'll probably leave to next week. Like, for instance, tracing the largest solar storm in modern times from tree rings. That was an interesting little article. And further down, there was something else I was going to mention too I thought was interesting. Is that it? Yeah. Space scientists' new sensors shine spotlight on Sun-Earth studies. And I thought that was an interesting thing too, which I'll leave that till next week. Yep. It's all fairly current stuff. You're tuned to VK3 EKH, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria. If you want to read or find out more information about the ASV, visit the website at www.asv.org.au and all will be revealed. Don't forget, next Wednesday is the monthly meeting at the Herbarium Hall, Amulia Hall in Melbourne, in the grounds of the Melbourne Observatory. The meetings start at 8 o'clock, but next Wednesday they have a special talk on Apollo 8 program, and where is the right up here, Astro Talk, Apollo 8. It's titled Apollo 8 Unseen. The 2019 documentary Apollo 11 captivated viewers with a trove of unseen 70mm footage, but there was over 20 hours of amazing material which remained on the cutting room floor. In this presentation, the film's archive producer Stephen Slater will show some of the archive treasures publicly for the first time, and will also tell the incredible story of Apollo 8. So that's next Wednesday night, which you can view on the ASV's YouTube channel. They'll be streaming live that presentation. But the interesting thing is the presentation here is from 9:45 to 11:45. I'm not sure if that time's correct. I would still suggest tuning in from 8 o'clock. And if you want to go there, you can. You don't have to be a member. You can roll up and sit as a visitor. But be there by 8 o'clock. And I don't know about this time. 9:45 to 11:45 seems unusually late. They usually these monthly meetings they want to finish up at 10 o'clock. And that's it. Everybody can go home. So that seems unusually late time for me, for them. Anyway, nevertheless, next Wednesday night. This is VK3 EKH concluding transmissions for tonight on 3541 on YouTube, and thanks all folks for chatting on the other media. This is VK3 EKH clear and closing down 3541. Cheers everyone, take care.
VK3WV.
Oh, is that you, Dennis? VK3WV, now transferring myself to VK3CSJ.
Yep, that's me. Just wait till everyone finished to drop in and say good day. And I know you're not dead. I can see on the TV with a pussycat asleep up in the I don't know what it is, but it's on top of that bench thing behind your shoulder. Anyway, trust you well, and things are rolling along okay. I didn't see all of your program tonight, and caught the tail end of it. Probably a bit like Steve. But yeah, interesting what was there, and occasionally I see things, but I don't always announce it on there. So don't tell any dirty stories about me. VK3CSJ, VK3WV.
Yeah, okay, Dan. VK3WV, VK3CSJ now. Yes, g'day, Dan. Trust you well. And my chair keeps rubbing the side of the bench here. It's annoying. And the eye is improving. So we'll probably get a report of that in a moment. Well, tonight was pretty good. I had a reasonable amount of articles. I kicked off with the Sky notes from Tanya Hill. I mean, I can only repeat those notes at least 2 times before it gets a bit tedious, so I won't be doing them next week. But and of course then we had Timothy Scove's little solar report. So I liked the graphic. Oh, excuse me, the graphic that she's generated out of herself. It's a very interesting looking lady here. But I thought that was I actually, when she published this, I grabbed it and I said, I actually replied in an email. I said, I really like the new card that you've produced here, because I'm going to be using it for the ATV broadcast, and she was quite pleased about that. So that's the she's pretty hot in that image, isn't she? Wow. Anyway, yes. So I'm still streaming too. Oh dear. Yeah. So and of course, there's just been I don't know whether you've been listening about around about the time that I reported on the earthquake, but there's been about an hour ago. There's been a decent earthquake out there in the middle of the ocean, and it's where is it here? No, not that one. Not that one. That one. 6.8 magnitude, and Mariana Islands group at 10:03. So all that area has been very active, hasn't it, these last few days? But I can't believe, as Graham 3GL Graham pointed out, the size of these rocks falling off the hill and almost taking out that car. That's just amazing footage. But we finally seen footage of these buildings toppling over too. Yeah, just stunning. So, but yes, that earthquake I recorded as well here, that came through, and I can't. The only way I can really show it is through a picture I took off the phone, which is it's not going to rotate. Why can't? Sometimes you get really annoyed with images that rotate, and in this case, it doesn't want to rotate. So anyway, that's it there. Yeah, that's the first earthquake. That's the one that hit Taiwan. So that was what was recorded here. And of course the one that's just happened an hour ago is this one. Here we go. And it doesn't want to rotate either. Okay. Yeah. So that's 10 o'clock. That's the 10 o'clock line. Of course now it's been going, that's an hour ago, so there's a second line that's running underneath that. But that's the 6.8 at the Mariana Islands group. So, if it's a reasonable magnitude, of course this little sensor will detect it. So yeah, pretty impressive. What else is there? Yeah. So we don't know who got the STC transmitter. No idea. So yes. And I don't think there's much else. Oh, I've got myself a new radio. This is for the car. I haven't made the announcement yet. I was going to. I will make an announcement when it's installed and operating, which I'll do tomorrow. But as you know, I haven't had a VHF UHF radio in the car for since the Moxon packed it in. And I heard Tony, Mr. VAT, made the comment a few weeks ago, or the other week when he was talking to you. He says that he would usually be on the radio at drive time with me heading home from work at 3:30. He's usually always up on the repeater there saying g'day, and we'd have a chat. But ever since I've no longer had the radio in the car, he's he's he hasn't been coming up, and much to everybody else's annoyance. Where's Tony? Where's Tony? So that was actually the deciding criteria as to why I thought about time I better organise to put a wireless back in the car. So I went and visited Andrew, VK3 Fox Sugar. Just a sec. All right. This is the radio, the head at least. So it's an icon thingy, and it's a 2820H D-Star thingy, and 50 watts out, both 2 and 70. And I'm going to place it. See this thing here? That's my sunglasses holder. There's two of them. There's two in the Subaru. There's two sunglass holders. This is the bigger one, and there's a smaller one just in front of it that sits on the roof. And you bring it down like that, and you can get the glasses that sit on the inside. So what I'm going to do is fit the head inside that, like so. See, perfectly. So that'll sit down all the time, but it's up and out of the way, and more importantly, it's not going to be in direct sunlight, because I think that's why the one that I had before stuffed up on me, was because it was getting too hot in the car and had the sunlight falling on it. So I'll sacrifice one of the sunglasses holder, the big one, to support the remote head. And there's only there's only one cable that goes into this. You can see there, it's just a very small Ethernet type cable, and there's enough room for that to go down to the radio, which will be under the seat. And the microphone is attached to the radio. It's not, unlike the IC706 where it's attached, the microphone's actually attached to the head as well. It's not in this case. It's actually attached to the radio, which is a bit odd, but there it is. So so I'll get that into the car this weekend, most likely tomorrow, and I'll be back up and running with VHF UHF from the car, 50 watts, and there's no reason why I can't be reached if I'm in the car. Anyway, we're thinking about that. We still might change our mind, but it only means that I have to drill a hole in that panel, just one hole, to support the back of this unit. This is the back of the head there, you can see, and that screw that you can see there, that screw hole, is where I'll put a screw through to the back of the that panel. That's magnetically sitting there. This whole thing is on a magnet, so it's a pretty strong magnet. But that's the back of the head. Those two there. There's two magnets. These are two magnets, and that holds on to the metal plate. Where are we? Move the camera up. There we go. So that just sits there like so. So it goes like that, and that's how it'll mount. So we'll see how we go. But actually, like I said, I made a trip to Mount Martha on Thursday, I think it was, to catch up with Andrew VK3FS. And what an interesting fellow he is. I don't know whether you've seen any of the videos that he makes, but occasionally Richard will show a VK3 FS production on the repeater, and you'll pick up straight away how professional it is. The whole video will be spot on, even with the narration. So I said to Andrew when I caught up with him the other night, because I wanted to ask him about that. I said, when we watch your videos that you do, these 5-minute, 10-minute videos, or even shorter, you can see straight away that there is a professional element to the way you go about doing that. And of course, the straight question was, are you in the industry doing professional editing? And he is. He's been in television since the 80s, and these days he's pretty much working from home, which was a result of COVID. But he showed me his editing suite. He does everything in 4K. He's got a drone that's 4K, got a 4K camera on it, and he showed me some of the footage he's taken, and it's just absolutely mind-boggling stuff. I said, where would we be these days without the drone and a 4K camera attached to it? So yes, he does all his video production work and voiceovers from this little desk that he's got arranged next to his Radio Shack. But he works with the ABC. He works with ABC and other media sources to create programs or help in editing programs. And he's pretty much involved with all that. So when you see his amateur-based videos, that professionalism that you see is purely from his understanding and the use of his equipment there. So I was rapt to see his setup and how he does it, and basically that's what he does for a living. So, and has for the 80s, since the 80s. So excellent stuff. But he lives up Mount Martha, and he's right into the microwave. We've tried convincing him to come up on RTV. Both me and others here on RTV have all tried to convince him that come up on RTV, Andrew. You're obviously been involved with television, so maybe I said to him, with your career in TV, you probably wouldn't want to be mucking around with TV anyway. But he's because we're the first thing that we all say to him is that it's HD, mate. It's HD now, and he's still no. It's 4K or nothing. So if we can get the repeater to increase the resolution to 4K, he may show an interest in coming up on RTV. Bit tongue in cheek, of course, but anyway. But there it is. So I got the 820 off the 2810-20 off him. Oh God! All right, I'm almost falling asleep now. No further earthquakes, I can tell you at this stage. It's a quiet line running here. VK3WV, VK3CSJ.
Okay, Clip. VK3CSJ, VK3WV. Now, you covered a few topics there, which is quite interesting. Firstly, I agree with you. I think there was a bit of artistic license taken with Tamitha's picture. I saw it, and I thought, that's not her. And then I thought, well, maybe it's supposed to be. And then I thought, well, she's got control of what she's doing, so I suppose she can do with it what she likes. It's sort of wasn't a bad graphic, I thought. There it is, not bad at all. Yeah. Okay. So that was the story on Tamitha. Yeah, look, I did see you two pictures a bit earlier on.
Pretty good. I'm Tamara Scove, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.
When you put them up on the screen, there she is again.
Pay attention not to region 3599. That one is actually kind of fizzled a little bit. But really, region 3612.
Not exactly orange, but
This is a region that only emerged on the sun's west limb right before big of a solar storm, and what little it did give us is are exiting stage right as they rotate to
the earthquakes. The pictures that you obtained there from your device, and I saw the bit on the news tonight, actually on the ABC. It wasn't the ABC. Yeah, it was news, I think. It might have been SBS. Yeah, I'm not certain what Jan had on now, but there was one there, and it looked all pretty dry. Look, we don't need wars, we don't need fighting, and we don't need all this bitching and carrying on. The Earth does enough stuff to us to keep us on our toes all the time. And look at these earthquakes. Look at all the floods we're having right now up along the east coast. Look at the bushfires. Kind of funny. This Earth's a pretty unstable place, as you're well aware. And we've got enough on our plate just dealing with all that stuff without having wars and creating all sorts of other hassles with that. No, I don't know about the broadcast transmitter either. It's not that it bothers me too much. But if we hear a big fat signal turn up on 160, well, we'll probably know. Oh, I don't have to put it on 160. Might put it on the 80 metre net, the boat anchor net, or whoever knows. Hell of a boat anchor, isn't it? That's one thing about it. Oh, thank Christ you're finally going to get a radio in your car. I don't know how long it's been since I've bitched about it, and it's interesting to note that you didn't do anything about it until Tony bitched about it. That's a good thing. Actually, remember that conversation with Tony, and we thought it was high time you did. But as I told him at the time, you had heaps and things to do. So yeah, certainly get it in there, and there'll be a damn sight more chance of catching up with you. Yeah, I think last time I talked to you, you were taking your audio processor too across to well, I can't remember now, but you were taking over to get some capacitors perhaps replaced in it. I don't know whether you've done that yet. You didn't make any particular comment about that at the time. But yeah, okay, and Andrew too. Yeah, look, I've seen some of his stuff there. It's pretty good. There's no two ways about it. You can do pretty marvellous stuff when you've got the gear. That's about what it comes down to. If you've got nothing, you can't do anything. But if you've got the gear, well, good things can happen. And as you say, he makes quite a nice job of it. Yeah. Now, what I did the other day was I tried that grid pack that we put up down to Tony and up to Richard using just my driver, which still runs a few watts, but I thought it might. Well, of course, I haven't got my PA, but you probably haven't had a chance to do that transistor yet. But when you do, good. Yeah, I tried just to drive, and I thought, oh, well, given the proximity, we'd probably be able to manage it. But such was not the case. It was interesting to see. Mind you, it's not rotated on them, of course. But I know that I was able to get into Tony before with very little. I thought I might have been able to do it again, but such has not been the case. So the test on the recently installed grid pack is not at this stage conclusive.
I've not been able to really satisfy myself one way or the other. If either of them had seen something, I would have thought, oh yeah, okay, well at least something's happening. But such is not the case. Now the report on the eye, it's a bit of a mixed bag actually. There's a good and there's a bad. I'll give you the bad first. I think the focus on the operated eye is not as good as the focus on my unoperated eye at a distance. The other thing about it is that I had a look at the moon the other night, and the moon's nice and round. And when I look with my unoperated eye, the moon's nice and round. When I look at it with my operated eye, it's oval. It's got a higher vertical component and a less horizontal component. So it looks like not like an egg. It's ovoid. Doesn't affect the overall vision, but certainly when viewed by itself, I've got an oval. I think that's probably due to the lens that they put in to correct for astigmation, and maybe the eye will adapt to that. I don't know, but it's a little bit better on the close-up focus, not as good on the distance focus. Mind you, when I say not as good, the overall vision is still much improved, simply because it doesn't impinge now with all the flares and triple images and such like that I used to have before. The sensitivity to light is still a little bit high. Interestingly enough, reverse of you, the red is much brighter than what the other colours of the spectrum are. If I look at, say, the colour bar chart, the red jumps out and bites you on the nose. So we certainly know that it's there doing things for you. And when I go in the street and I sort of look at different signs and such like, well, the red really stands out. And I thought that was a little bit odd, seeing that you mentioned that you were blue biased when yours was done. So I've gone the other way for whatever reason. But I think that might diminish with time. I don't know. So the good side of it is overall image is improved because of not impingement from the other eye, and about a concept of depth, which is rather interesting. I seem to be able to pick depth easier than I could before. Yeah, a little bit of good, a little bit of not quite so good, but heading in the right direction. I stopped wearing the patch in bed at night. Last night, they told me to keep it on for at least a week. Well, I've had it on for 2, and I figured that's enough. And I'm still using the drops. I was told to keep using them until they run out. Well, I haven't quite run out yet. But I'm allowed to lift things now and push the mower and all those terrible bloody things that are now going to have to happen. It was actually quite good because the grass didn't grow much in the last month probably because of the weather we were having, and a lot of it dried out and a fair bit of it died, which was very good. And now, since this burst of rain again, it's starting to green up and look like it needs some attention. So I've actually got to the point where I can handle that. Apart from the fact that there's no juice in the mower, I'll have to go in and get some petrol to run the damn thing. I've been meaning to do that actually for a while, but I haven't got around to it for obvious reasons. And now I'll go and help Jan with the shopping, which I wasn't doing too much of before. I could drive her there, certainly. I could drive her home, but I wasn't allowed to lift any of the things out. She kept a pretty good eye on me, I have to say. Although I did a few things, I guess, that I shouldn't have done because I didn't think of them. One of the things that I was told not to do was to rub it, and I found that when I was in the shack here, like where I am here now, and I'm doing something or I'm thinking about something, I had a tendency to want to rub the eye. And after having caught myself doing it a couple of times, I thought, well, this is no damn good. So I went up the shed and I found an old pair of glasses that I had, and I took the lenses out. And I've been wearing these glasses without any lenses in them, which is a bit odd. But the thing is, if I then go to rub the eye, well, put my hand up there and I hit the frame and say, oh, God, I'm not supposed to be doing it. So it was actually a rather good innovation. I've stopped using those now too, but I did use them there for a number of days, and it was a good thing to do, as it turned out. So that's the report on the eye. I think I'm coming along quite okay, and even though there's a bit of shortcoming with it, I'd say overall it's a notable improvement. So I can't complain about that. VK3CSJ, VK3WV.
VK3WV, VK3CSJ, very good. It's interesting that you're picking up on the red spectrum more so. Yeah, because when I reported that, was it blue? Blues stood out more. I think it was the blue. I mean, the surgeon said to me that's not uncommon. That's because the thickness of the cataract tends to filter more the blue wavelength, so it stands out the most. And it was, I mean, I like. He said to me that it's a good idea to leave the bandage on the eye for at least 6 hours, and I think I went to 8 hours before I took it off, and I was sitting on the edge of the bed when very gingerly took this bandage off, and as soon as I slowly opened up my eye, I probably didn't pick up on it straight away, but it was predominantly blue. And of course the thing is, though, the walls upstairs are all blue anyway, but everything looked blue. And I must admit, it took quite some time for the brain to finally filter that out. I wasn't too sure if it was going to do that, but it's a learning process, I guess. But look, I remember telling you that I asked that question to the surgeon that I had. I said, "What's the deal about rubbing your eye?" I mean, even after all the healing is gone. I mean, all the healing is done, and you've got your new set of glasses, which is these ones. What's the story on rubbing your eye? Because people. We all rub our eyes fairly extensively, perhaps several times during a day. Not subconsciously, we just aren't unaware of it. But because I go to bed so late, it's not uncommon for me to give my eyes a good rub, just to wake them up. And I'm sort of aware that I don't want to be too bad with it. In fact, it's not uncommon for me to give myself a blood eye. And that's not necessarily from rubbing either. I find that I'll do something. I might look to the corner very quickly and stress the muscle tendons or whatever you call it that attach to the eyeball. I do something, and I'll end up with a bloody eye, which takes a week to get rid of. And I don't know what causes that. I'm not sure. So, but I can still rub my eye, and and it doesn't affect my vision. So at least I know to some degree that even though I've got two interocular lenses fitted to my eyes, I can give my eyes a reasonable rub, and nothing happens, nothing disastrous occurs. But I do wish that the fogginess that I've got in my left eye at the moment could be resolved, because it's I'm forever cleaning my glasses. I take my glasses off and clean the lens, thinking that it's a dirty lens. So the next time I go to Specsavers to get a new pair of glasses, and of course before that happens, they always check your eyes out. So like I've mentioned to you already, I'll get them to do another recheck, and I'll explain to them that I've got a bit of blurriness in that eye, and let them examine it and see what they can see, and ask the question again. Is there anything that can be done to fix it up? Because it's not related to the lens that was fitted. It's something else. So I'm hoping that it's just a matter of time for that to eventually fix itself up. Oh, sorry. Oh, excuse me. Yes. Yes, and I remember you telling me about the using the frame glasses, the frame. It's a good idea, that, actually. And I think wearing the bandage at night was really only just for a couple of nights. I was told didn't really have to. I'm not sure how long, to be honest, but I do remember exactly that. That it's a good idea to keep this bandage on during the night. See, I think the bandage had a plastic cup. So you had this bandage across your eye, but there was a plastic cup that kept the bandage from applying any pressure to the eyelid. And he said to me that it'd be a good idea that you keep that on during your sleep, because it's not uncommon that while we sleep that our hands come up near our face and can rub our eyes without being awake for that. So it's a good idea that something protects your eye during the night. So, which is fair enough. Anyway, sorry. So it's been a few years now, and like I say, the two lenses that I've got are for a long distance. So the glasses are for short distance for reading, and like if I take glasses here off, the TV there that's viewing the output for the repeater is reasonably in focus. Although if I look with my left eye, it's just got that blurriness to it. But it's okay. I don't really need the glasses to view the main monitor up here. But even the computer screen just in front of me here, it's in that border where it's just a little bit. It needs to. I need to put my glasses on. Some of the text I can read it, barely read it actually. The small print I can't really make it out. It's just that little bit of blurriness associated with that. But these glasses are for reading, so that tends to make it readable in both eyes. Although again, my left eye, it's the brain. When I open both my eyes, the brain compensates. So, but I still feel this blurriness, and I'm often rubbing my eye, trying to hopefully get rid of this blurriness. I agree about planet Earth and its retaliation to the humankind. Look, there's definitely things happening one way or another, and whether it's the weather patterns being a bit more aggressive around the world, or earthquakes, or whatever, there's more of it going to occur, I think. So but of course you can't change human behaviour easily. So we're just by our nature we're a warmongering race, and any reason, any excuse to be able to kill each other, then that's what they do. So we're all, asking for a fight. I won't mention countries, but certainly the build-up of military here and there, and all the stuff you hear in the news. So you sort of get the sense that there's something brewing. But I don't get people like the president of Russia there, Putin. Is the president? I think so. Where he gets off doing what he's doing, I just don't understand his mentality. Not in this day and age. You just don't. You just don't do this to another country. What he's doing, and of course the same with the Gaza Strip. That's just ridiculous for things to be happening. We've got to grow up out of this business. And if we've got a country and a borderline, that's it. Respect it and do your best. And be nice to your neighbours. So anyway, yes. What else? Okay, on Andrew VK3FS. Yes. You're quite right. His program that he uses is called Avid Media Composer. I think that's what it's called. I actually, we discussed it, and I tried to remember what it was, but I couldn't. By the time I got home, I couldn't remember. So I sent him a text message, quickly asking him what was that, what was the name of the video mixer, or the program he uses for all his work that he does. It's called Avid Media Composer. Avid, A-V-I-D, A-V-I-D, Avid Media Composer. And you can download a free version of that, a bit like vMix. I think vMix does it. You can download a version of vMix that's basically free. I was thinking of my weather station. There's a basic aspect to the Davis weather station that's free. So this is the same thing. But then if you want all the features, what it's like with the stuff, all the options, all the plugins and stuff like that, then you're up to maybe $500 a year. I detest having to pay regular payments for things, but you can't get out of that. Like Adobe Reader or some virus software, things like that. There's this monthly payment that they insist on. Whatever happened to just buying a program outright and no monthly business ever again? But there's a number of programs that have that. It's a real nuisance. Even if it's just like $30 a month or less, it still mounts up, I guess. But I might investigate Avid Media Composer and see if there's any fun out of it. But he showed me what he does. Like he had the program open, and he had multi-layers of what he was doing, like the main raw video and multi-tracks for the sound and tracks for special effects. So it wasn't uncommon for him to have multi-layer video products, video running for his programs that he does. So you've got to be pretty much right across that stuff. You've got to be very familiar with how it works and how to operate it to get the result that you wanted. But he says to me it takes a long time. Even for a 5-minute video that he does, it can take. I think he said up to about 40 hours to do one of those. Finding the time to be able to sit in front of his video suite and find the time to get it right. So I think that's one of the things that annoys me, is it can take so long. And as I said to him, I filmed my niece's wedding, Tiffany and Kefford's wedding, 13 years ago, and I still haven't released the edited version of that for them to watch. It's, like I say, 13 years ago now they had this wedding, and I still haven't provided the video of it. That's just me, I'm afraid. It's just I'm so lazy with things. But I did spend a little bit of time getting it right. I have kind of put it together, but it's not finalised yet. I want to go back and just try and clean it up a little bit more. So it's fiddly work. You just got to go back and muck around with it, and then come back again and muck around with it. So yeah. Anyway, there it is. Yeah. So I'll get this radio into the car. Oh, and if I can locate a bumper bar, or not a bumper bar, but a nudge bar for the front of the car, I would prefer a bull bar. But finding a bull bar for a 2003 Subaru, I think it is 2002, 2003, a little bit hard to come by. I don't know why it's so hard, but it is. And but you can get nudge bars. So if that's all I have to resort to is a nudge bar, I'll do that. I'll get a nudge bar put on the front of the car so I can mount the 9-foot steel whip. Because I want to put the 706 back in the car. I want to put HF back in the car. And that means that I use my 9-foot steel whip. But the way the Subaru is configured, I don't have place for a HF antenna easily. Which reminds me, the boys are going down to Ben River again in a week's time. Chris has bought himself a boat, I understand. VK3 MCO. It's interesting, isn't it? I know that he's a yachtsman, I think, from another time. But he's lashed out and got himself a boat. I'm not sure how big it is, but anyway, he might be using that down there at Ben River. So Graham and Chris, and I think Steve and Rita and Bobby and I think Chris as well. I think that's the usual lads that go down to Ben River. So I've more or less promised that I'll try and keep an evening sked with them over that week, or whenever we can arrange for a sked, and keep in contact with them, see what they're up to, how many fish they've caught. Oh dear. All right, VK3WV, VK3CSJ.
Okay, VK3CSJ, VK3WV. Well, actually, Jan and I ran into Nicole today down the shopping centre, and she told us that the Ben River happening was about to happen again, and all the boys, and that the lad had bought a boat, and some of the reason he wasn't on the wireless was because he's mucking around with this hub of his. So yeah, so good luck, Tom. That's very good. I think that probably. I've not been down there when the fellas have been there. So what the launching facilities are like and what he actually requires to launch it, I really don't know. I didn't get any sort of details on what the boat was. But she was telling me about all sorts of other things which has been happening with them, and a few health issues and a few legal issues that they've been going through at the moment. So yeah. look, I tend to agree with you. I don't like programs or, well, especially programs, but stuff where you have to pay all the time. I mean, the gas bill I've got to pay, the electricity bill I've got to pay, the water bill I've got to pay, the telephone I've got to pay. I don't want more. And we seem to get more and more of these things as time goes on. And I certainly didn't want to have to do it for hobby things. I mean, the occasional thing that comes around every year is all right. I don't have to pay the amateur license anymore. I suppose there's some advantage in that. But still pay the MG Club and HRSA and RAOTC. That's enough. We don't need to have any more than that. But for things like software, well, I've made it a point with my station, as you know, not to use any computing stuff. Well, some of it's built into the mixers and all that anyway. There's microprocessors and all that sort of stuff in there, so I can't say there's no computing stuff. But I don't have any computers as such in here, and I don't intend to. As far as I'm concerned, for ATV, you get me and you get slides off the iPad, or maybe a short, not too edited version of motion off the iPads. I've got provision for 2 of them now, but I don't really have a great use for it. As you know, I've always had problems considering what to do for material to put up. So it's good if that's your hobby, and it's obviously his hobby and his interest, especially given that he works in it. More power to him. He certainly does a good job of it, as you've already mentioned. But I don't think I would be, even if I had the money to sort of spend on such things. I probably still wouldn't do them at my point in life. So there we are. All right, Clint, 12:30. I better go and hit the cot, I think, and you better do the same. I notice you've been yawning a few times there, so I'd better let you wander off and hit the cot as well. And we'll catch up with you again in due course. There's something else I was going to. Where's me glasses with the lenses in them this time? Group fact, Andrew, BC, graph, yeah, audio. Oh yeah, that's the other thing you didn't mention. You're going to go over and have some capacitors placed in your audio unit that drives your big meter. So I'll take a quick listen to you on that, and then I'll disappear into the woodwork. VK3CSJ, VK3WB.
Yeah, I've had a few late nights this week. Well, every night is a late night for me. I average 2 o'clock. I don't know how I do it. And I'm just watching this video that Graham's recorded of my transmission tonight. Because it's on Facebook Messenger, I can't easily bring that across. I don't know why, but there's something about the way Facebook operates that can't bring that video across easily. Because it just comes up with with a login page. I don't know. I'll work it out later. It's Paul, VK3KHZ. Paul's got experience with repair on these Auburn units. So he said that because he basically services them, and when he was working on these Auburn units, it was basically one of the first things that he would have to do is replace a whole bunch of capacitors to get it to improve its characteristics. So he sent me an email with these list of capacitors to look for and to change. So I printed out that email and folded it and left it inside the face of the Auburn unit. But anyway, the conversation, or the email exchange that I had with Paul last week, he said the offer is still there to service the Auburn unit for me. So while the unit's working, as far as I'm concerned, it's working fine. But there's a good possibility that it'll work a whole lot better after Paul has fixed it, has capped the unit, and basically given it a bit of a service. So I'm looking forward to getting it back and putting it in line. And I might not notice anything. It might be just subtle, but at least I know that any capacitors that were in the process of about to fail, that's not going to happen. I'll get longer life out of this unit now. But I said to Paul to take his time. Basically, don't rush it. He's still moving into his new home. There's stuff everywhere. So he's even in his workshop, his little workroom, which is also basically where the SDR sits, and his Radio Shack, he's still unpacking. He still hasn't got a decent bench to sit at this point to be able to do anything. So I don't know where he's going to work on this audio processor of mine, but he says, that's something I'll worry about when I get to it. So at the moment, what I've got to try and do this weekend before Sunday morning is interface between the Telefunken and the mixer. At the moment, you can't really see it in shot, but just up here there's a coil of wire, which is the audio feed. So I've got to connect that to the mixer, so I can get the audio through. So I must do that tomorrow at some stage as well. You can see down there's the Galaxy, my Galaxy receiver for FM reception. So that, at least I'm glad to know that that's working okay. But I've got to put the case back on. For some reason, I've taken the case off. But I'd like to include this into the TV system too, so that I can watch FM TV. 905 club. I don't know whether I'll be getting a 905 yet. I don't know yet. Depends on a number of things. No further earthquakes that I can see. It's a silent trace at the moment. But when we had that earth tremor a few days ago, it was great to be able, like, I was sitting at the computer here when it happened, and I sensed the vibration, and I thought that's got to be an earth tremor. And I didn't immediately look at my seismograph, but within seconds I'm thinking, I should be looking at my seismograph. And sure enough, there's this big spike, plus or minus the datum line. And I watched this in real time, and I thought, that's it, I'm actually seeing an earthquake in real time. And I was really very impressed about that. So that's why I've got the screen here running all the time, so that I can keep an eye on it, looking for the big one to occur again. And that's something I forgot to mention to Greg, VK3DX. He was talking about earthquakes, the biggest earthquakes. There was one in Newcastle a while ago, but I think the earthquake that we had here in Victoria, that 9:15 time in the morning, about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, I think that's probably now the biggest earthquake that's probably happened in the city area. Although I have heard that there have been actually bigger earthquakes out in the outback, but because there's very little civilization around, there's been no one to report it. we have had some big earthquakes out in the desert areas, but not many people around to report it. So it's yeah, it doesn't make the 6 o'clock news. It has to be in the city, and buildings have to collapse to make the 6 o'clock news. Anyway, all right then, let you go. It is 12:41. And I know Graham wanted to have some words afterwards, but he's probably retired by now. So we'll have to catch up over the weekend. It's only a 2-day weekend. It'll come and go before I know it. VK3WV, VK3CSJ.
Okay, Clint, very good. No problem at all. Yeah, well, I'm not certain what times I'll be around the weekend, but if I'm in the shack here, I'll have the repeater on. So I'll be interested to hear from your new mobile setup if you manage to get it done over the weekend. Well, I'm pleased you're doing it. That's long overdue. Okay, Clint, catch you later. All the best. Thanks for the words. And don't strain too much. VK3CSJ, VK3WV clear.
Me strain? I don't think so. Oh dear. I'm almost 64, so I've got to be careful these days. But I will still climb ladders, but I'll be very, very careful. Cheers, mate. Take care. Have a nice night. Eat a good sleep. And yep, I'll put out an announcement. I'll make a little text message and email out and to let everybody know that I'm back in the car with the VHF UHF comms. So everybody will know, including Tony. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Clint.
No, Graham. Doesn't sound like it. No, Graham. All right, we shall depart the scene here and give the repeater a bit of a rest. And I need to unblock my nose. I hate blocked noses. It's just a nuisance factor. So I shall finish off the stream. Thanks. If there's anybody still watching the stream, send me an email. Let me know that you've been going to sleep, nodding off, watching this nonsense. VK3CSJ@gmail.com. That'll do. Until next week, there's the Sunday morning WIR broadcast. Look out for that. The video adaptation at 9 o'clock. Or actually, 9 o'clock on 18:25 a.m. and then 10:30 will be the video televised of it on YouTube as well. And then 8 o'clock Sunday night. And then, of course, the ATV net on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. Well, a bit of a plug. All right, where is my colour bars? I'll finish up on YouTube first, I think. So, see you, everybody, watching YouTube. Take care. Just fade to colour bars.